self-care as a priority, and it also, of course, helps me to keep things moving along so that we can have a studio to come back to. But more importantly for me, teaching helps me to feel grounded. It helps me to feel connected to all of you. And so the fact that I get to continue to teach and that there are people who are wanting to join the classes is really gratifying. And I have to say, as the registrations were coming in, I was getting very emotional, very teary, in fact, just being so grateful for your support. So thank you very much for that. And we can keep on being together in whatever way we can through this. So for the next 12 weeks, we are going to focus our attention on a text, not really focusing all of our attention, but the themes that I'll work with all come from a text called the Yoga Sutras. And the Yoga Sutras was written about 2,000 years ago. And the reason that it was really a conglomeration of all of the wisdom that was out there about yoga that had been kind of growing for a couple of thousand years to that point, but it had never been brought into one place. And during this time, about 2,000 years ago, there was a lot going on in the world. And when people are in need, it's like the teacher arises when the need is there. And we had Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutras. We had Buddha, we had Christ, we had all these wonderful spiritual people come onto earth at that time to help the people. And this is a wonderful thing, of course, but we have to also beware of something called false messiahs, right? So those people or those entities or corporations or in some cases presidents of countries, you know, feeding you what you want to hear because that may feel good in the moment. And another way that we try to feel good in the moment that in the long run really doesn't help us is our addictive behaviors, right? So are we eating too much? Are we drinking more than we think we should? Are we, you know, shopping online or whatever it is that you do that helps you in the moment to feel a little bit better? But in the long run, it really doesn't serve us. So 2,000 years ago, the story is that the people in India were suffering, they were challenged, and they needed help. And so they prayed with their hands in this position, like a bowl open. And in that prayer was asking, please, you know, give me what I need, give us what we need to get through this. And Patanjali, the author who's ascribed to the Yoga Sutras, the name Patanjali, literally, Pat means to fall, and Anjali is this bowl type mudra where we're holding the hands out. And so the idea was that the people held their hands out, they prayed for support, and Patanjali dropped from the heavens to help them. And in the form of the Yoga Sutras, which is 2,000 years ago, the advice that is in the sutras is so relevant to today. Everything in there has a relevance to today because it's basic human needs. So he talks about the postures of yoga and the postures of yoga being helpful. He also talks about lifestyle and how we treat ourselves and one another as being the foundation and the most important part of it. And he also talks about breath work and working with the breath to, he didn't call it this, but to bring ease to the body and to the nervous system. Right, so we're going to work with a practice that focuses a lot on the breath today, and the other reason we're working with breath today is, of course, that we're dealing with a virus that attacks the lungs. And if we can, you know, if you know, knock on wood, any of us does contract this virus, if our lungs are strong and we're breathing well, there's evidence that we have a better outcome. So working at a very practical level and then at a very, not impractical, but a very sort of energetic level as well with the breath. So we're going to start our practice seated today. So you can find a chair or your couch or the floor, whatever is comfortable for you, to come to a comfortable seated position. And we'll start with that breath awareness work that I'm talking about. So I will meet you over on my mat. So again, chair or the floor, doesn't matter, couch as well, as long as you're not sinking into it and slumping, because I know most couches are built for slumping, not sitting nice and tall in the torso. So find a comfortable seat where you can also have a free spine so you're not kind of slumped back into a chair or the couch. So if you're on the floor, you can be cross-legged as I am, or you can have your legs stretched out in front of you. I find it helpful to have a cushion. So I've got a meditation cushion underneath my hips, but you could use a blanket or a block or anything else that's got a little bit of firmness to it. So if it's too soft, you're just going to sink in and then start to collapse into that seat. So as you find your comfortable seat, just take a moment to notice the breath as it is. So this is the breath without changing it, without trying to manipulate it in any way. Just noticing the breath as it is. And then we're going to divide the body into 4 quadrants, the torso, not the whole body. So we have the upper chest and the belly. So chest and belly in the front, that's 2 quadrants. And then we have the upper back and sort of the lower back in the back of the body. So basically the same in the back as the front. So the upper back and chest, 2 quadrants, sort of belly and lower back being the other 2 quadrants. And we're going to focus on each one individually at a time. And it's not about breathing as deeply as you can or doing anything special with the breath, but it's really just bringing our awareness to that particular area. So you can close your eyes if you like. And we're going to start with the area of the chest. So you might feel breath in your belly, you might feel breath in your back, but we're just bringing the attention to the area around the heart. And we're just noticing, what are you aware of? As you focus the breath on the area around the heart, what do you notice? And that could be physically, it could be thoughts that arise as you bring your attention there. It could be emotions that arise. So nothing special with the breath, just your attention, feeling the breath around the heart. And then we're going to let the attention sink down to the belly. So you don't have to change the breath at all. Just bring your awareness down into the area of your abdomen. If it helps, you can bring a hand to the area that we're focusing on. It's easier, obviously, in the front than the back of the body. As you tune into your belly, notice the physical sensations of any movement with your breath. Notice any thoughts or feelings that may arise. And then let that go and just take a few normal breaths for a moment. And then we'll shift the attention to the back of the body. So we'll start in the upper back around the shoulder blades. And again, the breath doesn't need to change, just the awareness. What do you feel? What do you notice? What are you aware of in the upper back as you breathe? And then let that go. And you can shift your attention downward to the area of the middle and lower back. And again, tuning into whatever is present, whether that's physical movement or sensation, whether it's thoughts or feelings that arise as you bring your attention here. And then once again, let that go and just focus on the breath as it is in a more holistic way. So noticing where your attention is drawn when you breathe without a particular focus. So let's do a little movement for the wrists before we come onto all fours. We'll circle the wrists. Circle one way and circle the other. And then you can take the palm of one hand up toward the ceiling and gently press down toward the floor with all four fingers, using the other hand to create that stretch. And then you'll turn the hand over so that the palm is down, and you'll use the other hand to gently give a little stretch across the top of the wrist. And then other side, so palm up, drawing the fingers back with the other hand. And then palm down. Very gentle pressure here. And give them a little shake. And then we're going to take the hands and make little sort of cups with them as if you're going to screw in a light bulb. And we'll rotate the hands one way and the other. So it's a rotation of the lower arms, the wrists, and the hands. And then you can make that a little faster. Go ahead, and then give them a good shake. Good. Let the hands rest down onto your thighs or onto your knees. And as we come over onto all fours, we're going to continue to work with the breath. We'll work with creating a little bit more length on the exhalation, as long as that's comfortable for you. So whatever your normal exhale is as we move into all fours in the cat-cow, we're going to just invite a little bit more depth to the exhalation. So if your legs have fallen asleep from sitting, wake them up and then come over onto hands and knees, table position. So you can bring your hands right underneath your shoulders. If it's more comfortable for your wrists, you can be up on your fists. I recommend thumbs forward rather than thumbs facing. So you want your hands in this position, not this position on the ground. And that puts your lower arms into a stronger position and also protects your wrists a little more from going forward and coming over your wrists. So whichever position is comfortable for you. And then you'll take a breath in and bend the elbows a little, chest comes forward. Then as you exhale, draw the belly up toward the spine. Maybe let the exhale be a little bit slower, a little bit longer than it normally would, as long as that's not creating any strain for you. So the focus is on the exhale, drawing the belly back, completing the exhale entirely. And if you'd like, you can add child's pose. So rather than just rounding the back, you could bring the hips back toward the heels, let the head come down. Try to really release your head. So when we're stressed and being hypervigilant, we tend to keep the head up. Right? We're always scanning for a threat, whether there's a real threat or not, when we're in a stress mode. And if we can allow the head to relax and the back of the neck to lengthen, we're giving a message to the nervous system through the vagus nerve that it's all okay. And even if it's not really, we can trick the nervous system. And if the nervous system thinks everything is okay, then all the functions of our bodies work better. Right, now, if child's pose is comfortable for you, you can stay there, either bringing your forearms underneath you, your head onto your hands if that's comfortable, or head on the ground. If your knees and ankles don't like this position, you can be up a little higher with your weight on your elbows and still the intention of letting the head release. So wherever you are, and let's take a few breaths and maybe see if you can feel breath moving into the back of your body again, anywhere from the shoulders to the hips. And then let's come back up to all fours. And we'll do a little side movement. So sending the hips one way and the other way. Going side to side like you're wagging your tail, if you had a tail. And you can let the head go as well. So looking over the shoulders, you send the hips one way and the other. Right, and then coming back to the center, we'll go to one side and stay for a few breaths. So if you let your hips go to one side, and then take your head and look over that same shoulder on the same side toward your hip. So the other side of your body gets a little bit more long. You can breathe into that long side. Imagine breathing into the side ribs now. Right, and then let's go the other direction. So hips go to the side. You're looking over the same shoulder, same side. And then breathing into the opposite side, the long side of your torso. Right, and then let's come back to the center and inhale and soften the elbows, draw the chest forward, exhale, round the back, draw the belly toward the spine. And again, if it's comfortable, come back to child's pose and repeat that movement. So inhaling, finding a little arch. Remember to keep the shoulders and elbows soft here. Exhaling, remember to let your head release. Right, so coming up to all fours, we're going to take the left foot forward. It actually doesn't matter which foot you do. I'll take the left foot forward. If that's good for you, you can do the same. And if you find that your back knee feels like it needs some extra support, you can roll your mat over, double it over, or bring a blanket under your knee. So we'll take that leg forward and walk it forward so that as you come toward a lunge, the knee and ankle line up in front. And as you shift back, the hip ends up no further back than the knee. So you don't want to be way back with the knee back towards the ankle, which is going to strain the knee. And we'll go forward and back a couple of times here. Make the movement smaller or bigger as feels best for you. As you come forward, you can let the chest lift a little. As you go back, again, think about the head releasing every time you come into a forward bend. If you can have that awareness of releasing the back of the neck. Right, and then let's switch sides. You can take that leg back and bring the other one forward. For those of you who like to do this from downward dog, that's totally fine as well. You can come to downward dog first. So let's come forward and back. So you're lining the front ankle or heel up under the knee as you come forward, and you may need to adjust the foot forward or back for that. And then checking in that you're not sending the hip too far back behind you as you straighten the front leg. You can be on fists or flat hands or fingertips here, or blocks if you have them, or even having a chair on either side of you can be helpful. So you'd be a little more upright, but you'd have that support. Right. And then as you are ready, you'll take that foot back, coming back to all fours. And you can do a few more rounds of the cat-cow, again, focusing on the exhalation. You can add child's pose if you like. And for those of you who are fans of downward dog, you can also lift to downward dog as part of that sequence. So coming to all fours, moving to child's pose, or rounding in the cat pose. And then maybe adding downward dog or going back to child's pose. If you come into downward dog, just like in child's pose, you really want to release the back of the neck. Right, eventually, find your way back to all fours. And I'm just going to do a little crawl back on my mat because I'm a bit close to the front. So we're going to end up lying down, face down on the mat. And ideally, your face is on the mat if you even have a mat. If you don't, then it really doesn't matter. So, walk the hands so they're about, the heels of your hands are about where your fingertips were. And then you'll let your body flatten into a kneeling plank. So your knees are on the ground, hands underneath the shoulders. And then we're going to bend the elbows and let the body roll down. So the thighs come down, hips, belly, chest, and forehead. So now, we're going to stay here for a few breaths. So if you would find it more comfortable, for instance, to have a pillow under your belly or your chest to stay here, you can do that. Otherwise, just flat on the floor if it's fine for you. And then place your hands so they're under your head, or you can turn your head to one side and keep the hands where they're comfortable. And we're going to, as I said, be here for a few breaths. And I'm just trying not to hit the microphone on the ground, so if you hear a little static, that's why. So find a comfortable position for your head, and then see if you can turn your toes in, let your heels fall away from each other. And that tends to open up the area around the sacrum. So one of the ways to work on strengthening the breath is to breathe from this position. If you need to come out of this position at any time, if you need to come back to all fours and maybe come into child's pose, please do. And otherwise, we'll spend a little bit of time here working with the breath. So again, see if you can feel the breath moving into the upper back area. You can stay on your stomach. I'm coming to sit because it's easier for me to talk to you while I'm sitting. Just in case you happen to glance at the screen and think you might be doing something wrong, we're still on the belly. And you're breathing into the upper back. And if it feels comfortable for you, you could gently expand the breath a little bit. So you're inviting a little bit more breath in, but never, ever, ever to the point that you're straining. And then you can also bring your awareness down into the lower part of the back, into the bottom of the rib cage. There's literally more of your lungs in the back of your body than the front, but we tend not to really focus there when we're breathing. And then bring your awareness even lower, down into the back of the pelvis, and see if you can feel any movement around the back of the pelvis as you breathe. And then just let all of that noticing go and just take a few breaths. And then as you're ready, you can bring the hands back to the sides beside your rib cage and lift back up to hands and knees. And now we'll do a few circles. You'll circle the hips towards one heel, over toward the other heel, and back up. And you can continue that circular movement for a few more rounds. Going one way and then maybe reversing and going the other way. And then see if you can just let your head go wherever it wants to go, so you're not holding the head in one position. And then feel free to change up your movements. You can make snaky type movements or side to side movements or back to cat-cow or whatever feels good. Maybe eventually coming back to rest for a few breaths in child's pose. So we're going to keep working with the breath a little bit here and opening around the upper chest and heart area by coming back onto our bellies. So we can get there the same way we did last time by taking the hands a little forward of the shoulders so that when we let the hips drop down in line with the shoulders and the knees, the wrists are under the shoulders, and then bend the elbows and come down in whatever way is comfortable for you. And then the hands can slide forward so that the elbows are on the ground, tucked into your sides, palms on the ground beside your face. You could bring the forehead to the ground if that's comfortable for you. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, gently engage the buttocks. Press down into the hips, down into the thighs, squeeze the thighs gently, and press into the tops of your feet. If your feet tend to cramp, turn your toes under. And then from here, with as little effort as possible on your next inhale, let the head and chest lift. Almost like the breath is doing the work, and then exhale, lower down. So inhale. The breath creates a very gentle lift. It doesn't have to be more than an inch or two off the ground. You don't even really have to lift off the ground. Just feeling that intention to lift, if that feels better than actually lifting. So you're lifting on an inhale, letting the body relax down on the exhale. You can continue like that, or you can rest at any point. Or if you'd like, you can stay in the pose. You'll come up. Again, it doesn't have to be, in fact, it's better if it's just a really small amount that you're lifting. And then as you breathe in, let the breath lift you. Just a little bit more. And exhale. Maybe you drop down a little. Keep the back of the neck long. So you're not trying to look forward, which can strain the neck. You're looking down toward the ground. A couple more breaths here. Great. Great, and then when you're ready, you can, again, just let your head rest on your hands or turn to one side, whatever's comfortable. Bend your knees and let your lower legs go back and forth, side to side, like windshield wipers. Just releasing the hips a little. Great, and then let's come back to the center, stretch the legs out behind, bring the hands back to the ground beside your rib cage, and lift up to all fours. And again, you might do a couple of rounds of cat-cow or circling the hips or moving from all fours to child's pose or even downward dog. If your wrists are strong and you like downward dog, you could lift up into downward dog and then back to all fours. Maybe child's pose. Great, and then let's come back up to all fours and we'll step 1 foot forward. You'll lift the other knee and step forward so you come to a forward bend. Again, let the back of your neck be long and relaxed. You can either keep the arms down by the ground or you can bring your elbows up onto your thighs. It doesn't matter how far upright you are, it's just really about letting the head go. And you can move it side to side, forward and back, just really making sure you're not holding tension in the neck. So as long as it's comfortable for you, we're going to roll up slowly so you can let the arms hang down. Let the body uncurl as you come upright. And you'll draw the head up last to come to our standing pose, Tadasana. So your feet are planted on the ground about hip distance apart. I'm going to rock the weight forward onto the balls of the feet. And then rock the weight back onto the heels. The toes can lift as you rock back. And maybe the heels lift as you rock forward. Great. And then come to stand in a position that feels even. So one side to the other is even. And then weight sinking a little more into your heels. And that has the effect of bringing the hips back and the shoulders lining up over the hips, head over the shoulders. And then we want to draw the chin slightly down and back. So most of us have a position for the head which is a little more forward than the shoulders, which is a strain for the neck, and it's really hard to avoid that with computers and cars and phones and all of that stuff. So for now, if you can bring the chin slightly down and back, and imagine that your ears now line up with your shoulders instead of your ears being ahead of the shoulders. Right, and then just let the arms relax and hang down. And turn the palms out to the sides and take a breath in and really stretch through the fingers and arms as you lift the arms overhead. Find a little bit of lift through the heart. And then exhale, as you bring the arms down, you're going to turn the palms back, bend your knees, and let your hands come to rest on your low back as you come forward. Coming up, you'll take the arms to the sides. You're going to spread the fingers wide, stretch the arms, lift, and as you lift, sink into your heels and lift the heart. And then exhale. And if your breath is faster or slower than mine, follow your. So again, back in mountain pose. Dropping down into your heels. So we're going to really feel the earth beneath us and send roots down through your heels as if you could dig into the ground with your heels. And then we're going to extend one arm up. And you probably can't see my hand, but my palm is facing where the other hand would be if it were up as well. Good. And then I'm pressing down into the foot on that side and lifting up with the arm. And then I'm breathing into this space in the side of my body. So I'm just letting the breath create a little bit of space and this position that I'm in. Right? And then keep pressing down into your foot, up with your arm. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can move to the side, just maybe an inch or so, just to feel a little more length on that one side. So we're not doing a full side bend here. We'll get there. I'm just finding a little more space. Okay, let's come back up and release that arm down. And before we do the other side, take a moment to notice what you feel on the one side that we've just brought our attention to and our breath to. And then we'll dig down with the other heel, reach the arm up, and lifting the arm, but not bringing the shoulder up to the ear. So keep the shoulder a little relaxed and arm strong and lifted. And then breathing into that space from the armpit into the side ribs, down into the waist. And again, it's not like you have to breathe super deep here. We're just creating a little more space and inviting the breath to move into it. Again, if you want a little bit more, reach up and over, even an inch. Right, and then we'll release back to the center. Bend and straighten your knees a few times to make sure you're not holding tension in your legs. Okay, let's take the feet apart a few inches, maybe a foot or so, 2 feet apart. Bring your hands to your hips and we'll do some circles and let the knees be soft as the hips circle around. So one way and then the other. Okay, and then coming back to the center. And you can take the feet even maybe a little wider apart. So wider than your shoulders, but comfortable. So you're not straining to be in this position. And then we'll turn one foot, doesn't matter which foot, all the way out to the side. So your toes are pointing about 90 degrees from where they were. And then you can bend the knee. As you bend the knee, you want to make sure that the knee is tracking over the ankle. So side to side and front to back, knee is over the ankle. If you want to be a little more challenged in this pose, you can wiggle your feet a little wider apart and sink down a little further. Check in with the other foot. So there's a tendency to kind of just relax the ankle and it rolls out. So you want to press into the inner edge of your foot as well as the outer edge and feel strong all the way up that leg into the hip. And then arms out to the sides, warrior two. You can turn to look over the hand that corresponds to the bent leg. Good. And then the direction that you're looking, you're going to reach out to that side. And then you can either place your hand or you can lean down into your forearm on the thigh. You want to make sure you're not shrugging your shoulder up. So you're pressing down into that arm and staying long. The hand that was up behind you, you're going to bring behind your back, palm facing out. And think about moving that shoulder a little bit back. And breathe here. So notice where you feel any tightness in your body. Breathe into that tightness. If you get tired, you can always come upright a little bit more or come out of the pose altogether. And if you want a little more stretch, you'll take the hand from behind your back and turn the palm up. And then lift the arm. And it could come it can stop anywhere along that line. Could go as far as finding a straight line from your back foot to your fingertips. And then again, that upper shoulder moves back a little bit. Okay, let's come back up to warrior two. So we'll keep the leg bent. Your legs might be getting tired. Good. So we need exercise these days. I've been sitting around a lot more than I'm used to. Going for nice long walks as well. So feel your legs. Feel the strength. Feel the solidity. And then let's straighten the one leg and turn the feet parallel. Lift the arms up overhead, breathing in. As you exhale, bend your knees and you can bring your hands or your forearms onto your thighs. And take a breath here. And I'm going to lift all the way up, reaching the arms overhead. And then releasing the arms to the sides, turning the palms down. I'll take the other foot, turn it right out to the side. Bend that knee, and again, make sure it's tracking straight over the ankle, forward and back, as well as side to side. The back foot can be on whatever angle is comfortable. And again, if you want to work harder by dropping down more, you'll take your feet a little further apart. Press into the inner and outer edge of that back foot, so you're really strong up the back leg. And then you'll turn to look over the hand that corresponds with your bent leg for warrior two. And then reach out to the side. And then the hand or the forearm comes down onto the thigh. The other hand comes behind your back, and you're lifting that shoulder, growing long. Another option here is to take your hand to your hip and press down with your hip to really feel that length in the side of the body. Breathe into that side, wherever your hand is. And if you want a little more stretch for the side, you'll take the palm up, arm to the side. This also supposes your shoulder is okay with this movement. You'll lift the arm and you'll stop anywhere along that line, maybe going as far as coming into a straight line with your leg, and then draw the shoulder down, spin to lift the chest a little more toward the ceiling. In any version, right? You could still be here, and that's totally fine. When you're ready, we'll lift back up to warrior two. Again, you can look over that hand. You'll straighten the leg. Bring both feet parallel. Lift the arms, breathing in. Bend your knees a little, and we'll sweep the arms down toward the ground. And sweep back up to the sides. So sweeping down. And back up. Great. Do a few more like that in your own time. And at some point you can stay in that forward bend. So it could be hands or elbows on your thighs. It could be reaching down toward the ground. And then when you're ready, you'll come all the way up again. Reaching the arms overhead and exhaling to release. All right, take a couple of breaths here. You can start to bring the feet in side by side. The shoulders move down. Right, and then with the feet just slightly apart, so a little wider, maybe shoulder distance apart, we'll roll the shoulders, one shoulder and the other shoulder. Again, all of this is getting into those tight muscles. When we're stressed, we tend to hold tightness around the chest, around the belly. So opening things up so the breath can move more freely. Go the other direction with your circles. Right, and then let's come back to the center. We're going to make our way to the ground. So we'll end up coming onto our backs. We'll do a little bit of movement and then some breath work again, and then into Shavasana. So if you want to have a blanket or extra clothes handy to cover with for Shavasana, you can get that stuff now. And I'm still hearing some background noise, so I'm just going to double check. I don't see anyone unmuted, so I'm not sure where the sound is coming from. We've got some phantom participant making sound. I'm not sure where it's coming from, so I apologize. So you can make your way down onto your back when you're ready. And we'll see if that helped. I just muted everybody blanket because everyone looks like you're muted already. So, all right. So, lying down on your back with your knees bent, we're going to work again on creating a little more awareness and length in the exhalation. So your arms out to your sides. So as we do the twist today, we're only going to move on the exhalation. So you'll start in the center with your knees pointing at the ceiling. You'll take a breath in. As you exhale, the knees will go to one side and you'll stay there and inhale. And then as you exhale, you'll come back to center. You'll stay there and inhale. You'll exhale, move to the other side, stay there and inhale. Exhale and come back to center. So you can follow that same pattern. Inhale in the center, exhale to the side, inhale at the side, exhale back to center. Go at your own pace. If you find the breath confusing, go back to the normal breath that we do, exhaling to the side, inhaling to center, or just breathe normally and do the movement at a pace that feels good. You'll notice if your mind wanders because you may forget where you are in the breath, or you may just go back to a familiar pattern. So we're changing the pattern not just to lengthen the exhale and bring more awareness, but to also help you to be aware of your focus. So a few more at your own pace. If you like, at some point you could stay for a few breaths to one side. Or you can keep moving with the breath. And then eventually find your way back to the center. We'll do a couple of counter poses. And counter poses are meant to bring the spine back to alignment after we've done a twist or a side bend. So in this case, we'll bring the knees to the chest, draw the knees in, give the back a little bit of a stretch, and then we'll move the knees away. And then back in toward the body. So if you want, you can work with your breath here. Exhaling as you draw the knees towards you. Inhaling as you move the knees away. And maybe Finding that slightly longer exhale. The inhale's natural length, exhale maybe slowing it down just a tad. You can stay with this movement or choose something else you like here, or you could stretch the legs and arms, the arms either overhead or to the sides, legs up in the air, and then back to the chest. Give a little squeeze as you bring the knees in. And then if you're following this pattern, stretching out with your inhale, drawing in with your exhale. Right. And then as you come back to the center, whichever movement you're doing, pause here, hold the knees in for a moment. You can have the hands clasped over the knees or hold the knees separately. The knees can be apart or together. And it's really according to what feels comfortable for you. So now we have a bit of constriction with the back of the body being against the ground and then the knees coming in toward the front of the body. So now as you take a few breaths here, notice where the breath wants to move. Maybe it moves more into the sides or the upper part of the body. Maybe you feel pressure against the ground or pressure against the legs. So just notice what you're aware of in terms of the breath here. And then when you're ready, you can release the feet to the floor. If it would feel good to you, you can stretch out your legs and arms away from each other on the ground. Take a few breaths here. Reach out through the heels so your toes point up and heels press away. Fingers spread and reaching out. Good. And then as you're ready, you can lower the arms down to your sides. And again, bend the knees if you've stretched them out. So we'll do a little bit of breath awareness here again. You can bring your hands onto your body, knees ideally bent as long as that's comfortable for you. You can wiggle your feet apart so the knees fall together so you don't have to have any effort to hold the legs up. But you could also place a bolster or a cushion under your knees if you want the legs more straight, or if you want even more support for the lower back, taking the legs and placing them on a chair or on a couch will give your lower back a little bit more length. So comfortable, hands resting on the body. You can close your eyes if you like. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes focusing on the exhalation, the phase of the breath that calms the nervous system. So for the first part of this exercise, simply notice your breath as it is. And then start to tune into the exhalation. So there's no need to change the breath, but just count how many seconds your exhalation seems to take. So for many people, it'll be 2, 3, or 4 seconds is kind of an average. If you're used to doing a lot of deep breathing and you've been slowing your breath through the class, your breath may be a little longer already. Just starting wherever you are. And then see if you can make the exhale a second longer. So if you were 3 seconds, make your exhale 4 seconds, as long as it's not creating strain or tension. And then if it's still comfortable, you might make your exhale another second longer. If it feels like you're straining with the breath, you're going to have the opposite effect. It's going to be agitating, not relaxing. So just breathe normally if you feel any agitation at all with the breath. So you can allow the breath now to return to normal. And we'll move right into Shavasana. So if you want to change your position, if you feel like you'd be more comfortable with your legs straight or any other position, really, it doesn't matter as long as you're comfortable. You can find your way to that place now. And again, let the breath be normal, natural, just however it flows in and out of your body without effort. And as you breathe, continue to focus a little more attention on your exhale and the idea of the body softening with each exhale, sinking down into the earth. Start with a feeling of the back of your head making firm contact with the ground, whatever you're resting on. And allow the muscles of your face, your jaw, your neck to soften. As you continue to focus on the exhale, feel your shoulders let go, your arms release, your hands and wrists softening. Bring your awareness to your hands and bring even more ease, more softening to your hands. Let go as much as you can. Feel the rhythmic flow of breath through your body. Let your rib cage and your belly soften to receive the breath without effort. Relax all around the hips and the pelvis. And feel a deep dropping down through the back of the pelvis. Feel your sacrum and the muscles around the sacrum release and drop. Let your thighs be softer, your knees release. Calves and shins let go. Ankles and feet releasing. Exhale, let go a little more if possible. As you continue to let go and drop down, I will share with you a chant that honors Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutras, as a great guru of all time. Om Vande Gurunam Charanadavinde Sandarshita Svatma Sukhavabode Nishre Ase Jangali Kayamone Samsara Hala Hala Moha Shantye Abahu Purushakaram Shankha Chakrasida Harinam Sahasra Shirsam Shwetam Pranamami Patanjalim. So you can take a few deeper breaths now. Not straining or forcing the breath at all. Just adding a little more awareness to the inhale. The inhale is the waking up phase of the breath, like the gas pedal versus the brakes of the exhale. And of course, since you're at home and you may not have a lot to do, if you want to stay in Shavasana longer, if you want to rest, just ignore me and continue to rest. And if you're ready to bring in a bit more movement and come out of the practice, you can start to wiggle your fingers and toes, stretch out your body. Moving in whatever way would feel good to you. And then eventually you can roll onto your side as a transition and make your way back upright. And again, if you choose to stay longer in Shavasana, just ignore me and enjoy that. And if you've come upright, I invite you to take your hands into Anjali Mudra, this kind of bowl shape, holding the palms open in front of you. And if you're still in Shavasana, you can just imagine doing this or even doing this from lying down. And just take a moment to think about what you desire, what you want, maybe what you need. Whether or not there's any possibility that you would ever get that. Just connecting with your desire, with your want, your need in this moment. And then imagining whatever that is just falling into your hands and feeling the weight of that. And then we'll take that thing and bring it to the heart. You can place one hand on the center of the chest, the other hand over that hand. And take a few breaths, breathing that thing that you want or need or desire into your heart. Soaking up your heart with that desire, with that want. It doesn't matter if it's something you're able to have right now or not. Just enjoying that feeling of wanting, desiring. And then you can take the hands and take them from the heart and spread them out and send that wish out that we all be well and happy, and that our needs are met during this time. And then you can bring the palms back together in front of the heart. And you, maybe if you're looking at the screen, you can see that I've got everything I need or want right here, right now. Namaste. All right, sweetie.